you started with a concern over Indian anthropology, the future of Indian anthropology. But looking at the global anthropological perspective, like there have been no major, like I'm not aware, like there have been no major impactful theories from anthropological side after postmodernism in 1980s to 1990s. So are there any theories that are emerging and which are like impactful?
Postmodern, thereafter. Two questions I'm going to have. First, about the Indian anthropology. I told you that I am pessimistic. Why? That I will be answering. And second, what after postmodernism has been taking place? Good. See, let me come first. See, why my very close friend, Dr. Vaids, knows it. My views on these things, because several times we interact on phone or otherwise also. And I must have, because I also find him very much worried about the Indian anthropology situation. Why worried? Nature of anthropological researches began in the country as early as in 1784 with the establishment of the Asiatic Society of Bengal by Sir William Jones, and a journal was coming up. Okay? So, articles of anthropological nature were published. We can say that as early as 1784, the anthropological researches, not teaching, began. 1919, the establishment of the Department of Anthropology in Calcutta University, okay? And thereafter in several universities have done. That also has made century now, celebrated century. So, 100 and so many years of anthropological teaching. Every year, hundreds of PhDs are being awarded in different universities of the country in anthropology. Hundreds of books also are coming. But the quality of books, if you ask me, I'll say least said the better. This is the background, a little bit of background of Indian anthropology. Now, if you go to an international conference abroad, I have had the opportunity of going and attending some of them. I used to find the largest contingent from India. They go there, participate there. Besides this, approximately perhaps 45 universities in the country, they have now opened and teaching of anthropology. And in every state, there are such institutions which are engaged in social science research. They also do researches of anthropological nature. But except four concepts, not even theories I will say, four concepts in Indian anthropology by two anthropologists, two concepts by M.N. Srinivas and two concepts by L.P. Vidyarthi. Why there is no theory, no concept there? This is number one. And in addition to this, I have written in my book also that in any scientific discipline, be it in social science or in natural science, if new theories, new concepts are not added to the discipline, that discipline would perhaps cease to develop and that would become stagnant. So in spite of all the background of Indian anthropology, it seems that has become stagnant because it has produced no comprehensive theory. This is on the one hand. On the other hand, India I should be very convinced, but I am taking a safe course and I am saying perhaps, is the best laboratory for anthropological researches of all branches in the world. This I have written very well, and I have given the plausible explanations that why the best laboratory for linguistic anthropology it is, why the best laboratory for biological or physical anthropology it is, why it is the best laboratory for social cultural anthropology and all. These things very well explained. I can explain it for hours together. One more thing, let me tell you. I'll quote two authors. One is Honigman, J. Honigman. What he says, his book is Development of Anthropological Ideas, published in 1976. He says that Western anthropology, no doubt anthropology is a Western science, Western anthropology owes to Greece and Rome for initial anthropological ideas. Whatever structure in the evolution, diffusion, structure per function, all these, you will find the basic rudimentary ideas in the writings of the Greek and Roman philosophers. So, Western anthropology owes to Greece and Rome for initial anthropological ideas. But we must not forget that more fertile and more ancient civilizations have existed in Babylon, Mesopotamia, China, Egypt, etc. and India. More so in India, because Mesopotamia and Egypt, you don't find any element of ancient culture today in their population. In India and China you will find, but mostly in India, the rituals, the beliefs, the practices that thousands and thousands of years earlier Indian people had, still it's been perpetuating in the present population. So they say, this is number one thing, and I'm talking about antiquity. And Marvin Harris, you read The Rise of Anthropological Theory, 1968. Okay? He says that all anthropological theories are but the product of discovering or attempting to discover the causal explanation of similarities and differences between cultures. Causal explanation, that means cause-effect phenomena. Why there is cultural similarity and why there are cultural differences. See, totemism you find among the Aruntas of Australia. On the other hand, you find in Canada, Quaquitals and Canadian, totem pole, you read the thing. In India, you find the totem. And in various parts of Africa also, some people, there also the totemism is there. And this has been for millions of years. Why this similarity? At the same time, why the difference? So anthropologists, in order to discover or bring out certain concepts and theories, try to understand the causal explanation of the similarities and differences between cultures. Against this backdrop, is again I am quoting my own writing. You can say it in underquote. In terms of variety of cultures, India is perhaps next only to the continent of Africa, which has got 54 nations. You see, in Africa continent, there are 54 nations. If you talk about the variety, where the variety will be there more, there you will have more comparative causal explanation of similarities and differences. So in terms of variety of cultures, India is perhaps next only to the continent of Africa. And in terms of antiquity, she is next to none. This I have quoted myself. Okay. Now, under these circumstances, see, India, so varied a culture. Why not make a comparative culture? I mean, even the neighboring cultures, you try to find out the cause and effect of the causal explanation. You can have new anthropological light This is what Honigman says, that if Indian scriptures are examined properly, we can have new anthropological light. We can discover new anthropological light. Why not our Indian anthropologists have ever attempted to do so? Why not? How can you think? Which theory other than dominant caste and Sanskritization of universe and other than nature, man, spirit complex and sacred complex of Vidyarthi? Why not any theory has come up? Why not? Because until and unless a white man, in my what you call देहाती भाषा में मैं कहता हूँ गोरी चमड़ी, until and unless a white man comes and tries to discover something and says something about Indian, we start patting our back that yes, India is so and so and so and so, but nobody takes the attempt to do so. Until and unless because anthropology is not only capable in studying the present culture but even the culture of the past, because so many anthropological concepts and theories are there. On the basis of that, we can very well examine the culture of the past. I have sometime perhaps given to Dr. Vaids also one small article which I wrote sometime. An anthropologist looks at history, and probably I have given and discussed all these things also in my paper. Well, of course, having told these things, I must humbly say one thing. I am trying to bring out certain concepts which I have discussed so many times with Dr. Vaids, that is coexistentialism in Indian society and culture, and spiral theory of unity and diversity. I have not borrowed any Western concept. That is absolutely Indian. I have just written in my forthcoming book a postscript in which I have given the glimpse of it, but in detail I have not yet written, and I hope that before I lay down I will complete it. This I hope. So that is the reason you ask me. Second thing, you ask me about the postmodernism and after. See, first of all, postmodernism, try to read it, because postmodernism first came in architecture, then in history, then in sociology, then in poetry, and finally in anthropology, postmodernism. About postmodernism, Dr. Vaids, a few years back, about 10 years back, sometime Utkal University, Prasanna Nayak had organized a conference, if you remember. I was also there, and one senior professor, I'm forgetting his name, because that must be in my mobile here, because I went to Hyderabad, then I went to his residence. He died very recently. He said about postmodernism, with that anecdote I want to tell you. A very, very senior professor of the South, I'm forgetting the name, when it comes I'll say. Because when I went to Hyderabad 2 years back, I went to his residence, paid my respect to him, and I had some selfies with him. After some time I heard that he is no more. But he was very intelligent. He said that if you go to America and in any university, you deliver a lecture and say that now the time has come when man has to think by feet and walk by his head. No surprise, you may be appointed as a professor of postmodernism. I mean, postmodernism is nothing in anthropology. Don't be, what happened that earlier, modernist era in anthropology and postmodernist era in anthropology, that way categorized. Modernist era in anthropology was from 1920s to mid-1970s. Now, why it is called modernistic era? Because anthropologists considered these, during all these eras, the anthropologists considered themselves to be as good and as perfect as natural scientists. And whatever they have written, treatises they have written always in third person, not in first person. Understand? Trobridans did such, even my thesis, this book is a mix of modernistic and post-modernistic writing. This is the sentence in the book, in this book. But because I completed it in 1978 and submitted, and post-modernism started after 1975, how and when, I'll tell you. But before that, I also considered myself, I'm nowhere in my thesis. Only the Nicobaris are. Nicobaris do such and such, they think such and such, they perform such rituals, they do only the Nicobaris. Where I am? Nowhere. Because they consider that a natural scientist does his experiments in the laboratory and he only observes passively what the phenomena has been taking place. Okay? And objectively he tries to write. So anthropologists also, when they went to study any culture and society, they remained passive and then only observed, and as the phenomena they observed, they try to write it. This is modernist, positivist. Postmodernism. You must have read something about Clifford Geertz, isn't it? Thick description and all. I don't know whether you have read his Balinese cockfight.
Yes, sir.
You must have read, isn't it? What is that? That is, he is at the center. And because once you write in the modernistic fashion, it will mislead the posterity as it has misled you. Your question, do the Kula still exist? Because it is not written that, I'll tell you, try to understand, very interesting question. After 105 years, if you go to try to find out Kula, where, in what shape it is very difficult to say because it changes, So that way of writing doesn't explain what changes might have taken or are taking place. So Malinowski's writing is considered to be a prophecy. Malinowski has written because he has done field work for so many years. He is the authority, nobody. I have done field work for 13 months. 13 months in the Nicobars. Why? Is the reason of it. I read in a book edited by R.F. Allen, Ethnographic Researches, Volume 2. There he writes that in Oxford and Cambridge, when someone got postgraduate degree, there they call it graduate, so once after graduation, until and unless he went to an isolated community, and stayed there for complete 1 year, he was not to be considered the member of the Guild of Anthropology. It had become tradition after Malinowski that at least 1 year someone has to go to an isolated community. So all those researches you will find only going to Trobriand Island in the Pacific or there, Margaret Mead, Ruth Benedict, anything, you'll find all these things. Fredigan or what is it? Noor, kisne kiya hai? Evans Pritchard, all. To find out an isolated community, stay there for at least 1 month and then write a book. So until and unless he spent such a time, he was not to be considered as a member of the Guild of Anthropology. Now I thought that, okay, 12 months, I'll stay 1 more month. Now I would be considered this authority on the Nicobar Islands. But at the same time, you read the book, I have simply said no authority. An anthropologist mustn't consider to be authoritative. He must not be considered as a prophet. This I have written very well. I have contradicted because of postmodernism. You are asking the question, because a lot of things are there. I mean, it seems I don't know how much time you are allowing me to give. Otherwise, it may continue anything, any time. I know it very well. See, all these things anthropologists must not consider, because he goes to the field, stays there for 1 month or 2 months or 12 months, or 12 months or 12 years, it matters little. Is he a witness of all the things that is happening in his area of study? No, cannot be. Possibly, it is impossible. He stays in the field for 3, 4, 5, 6 hours, then comes to his camp or wherever he stays. These days, mostly they stay in the guest houses. And then he dies. Okay? What is happening there? Does he see? No. In the night hours, he has to sleep for 6, 7, 8 hours. Morning he gets up, he gets fresh and out 2 hours, and then with a bag and camera and tape recorder, he goes to the field, finds out some people. At one place in the village he has been sitting. What is happening around the village, does he know? Is he aware? No. So he is not ubiquitous. He is not omnipresent in the field. And he should therefore never be considered as to be authentic. And he should also not claim to be authentic. I don't claim anything to be authentic in the Nicobar. Yes, I have written what I have seen. So the best way is to become a postmodernist. You, instead of writing the Nicobaris do such and such things, you write, I saw the Nicobaris doing such and such things. Whether they did it earlier or not, you are not responsible. Whether they will do it in future also, you are not responsible. At the time of the anthropologist or investigator being present in the phenomena at a particular time and at a particular spot, it was so happening. Okay? That's what is in fact the postmodernism. Yes?
So first of all, I would like to congratulate for both the books coming. That will be helpful for the civil service aspirants. I would like to know about your publication on Anthropology of Buddha in the Nidan. That was 2009.
Yes. Just remind me after some time. Next I'll be coming to Buddha. I was talking about anthropologist is neither ubiquitous nor omnipresent. Not present everywhere. He must not claim. And for that also, I have in my book mentioned, all of you must have heard the name of Oscar Wilde.
Yes.
Everybody knows Oscar Wilde, English literature. And I don't know how many of you have ever read a short story of Oscar Wilde, The Happy Prince. Anybody can raise hand if he or she has read Happy Prince? Have you read? Very good. The first line of the Happy Prince is, high above the sky on a tall column stood the statue of the Happy Prince. Isn't it? It's a line which begins with. You see in the internet, you will find Happy Prince, Oscar Wilde, the whole story will come. Okay? An anthropologist is not situated in the field like a happy prince high above the sky on a tall column, so that from there he can watch the village every second what is happening there. You must read The Happy Prince. It is one of the best short stories that I have ever read. That prince, when he was happy prince means he was happy always, and he died at an early age, and a beautiful ornamented statue of him was prepared by his admirers, and in the high above the sky on a tall column, that was. Now from there he had never seen misery. What is misery? Like Buddha, he had never seen misery. So when he saw the misery around all the place, 24 hours he's been watching. He wanted to help the people, but how can he's been erected and fixed on a column? He felt very sorry. And always tears coming out of his eyes. A little swallow, winter was coming, and swallows in Europe during the winter, they shift to the south India, up towards Egypt, And she was left behind, and so when she was passing through that place, she thought, tonight I'll take shelter, and stood at the shoulder of the feet of the happy prince. That statue, that means, and a drop of water fell. And she thought, what a curious thing, there was no cloud in the sky, yet it was raining. He surprised, swallow uttered by himself. The second time when it fell, then he saw, prince was weeping, went and sat on the shoulder of the prince. You are happy, prince, why are you weeping? Then he said, yeah, I'm happy, prince, I'm so and so, but now I see the misery, and I want to help, but then I'm fixed here, so I can't, I'm not alive. Can you help me? Well, you go there, an old lady is there, she is very much in trouble for such and such things, everything. You take one of my ornaments and drop there, she'll find it and she'll be happy. Please do it for this night, Okay, the swallow took it, went there, dropped it. Then again, whole night, there is a young girl or a small baby or a small girl. For this reason, she is very much. You just take this ornament or that ornament and drop there. Morning, the swallow wanted to fly from there. But said, can't you do some help me? One day stay more. And this is how every day all the ornaments that prince was doing. Lastly, the eyes made of sapphires was there. So one day he said, this take your drop there. He said, then you won't be able to see. Then he said, okay, I will not be seeing, but you will see and tell me whatever. Okay, both the eyes were also donated. This is how. And that night the snowfall was there, and that swallow died at the feet of the prince. It's a beautiful story. I went on to a story and perhaps taken you much of your time, but then anthropologists, positivists, for positivists it is particularly that an anthropologist is not like that everything he's been watching there. So best way that Nicobar is doing such and such things is one thing, and I saw Nicobar is doing such and such things is different. You find first 3 or 4 chapters of my book. That's absolutely postmodernistic writing. But inside that, when I've written in the book also that look, this is basically my PhD data. So there you won't find much of my mention. So you just change. After postmodernism, the theory that has come, that is not taught in any of the universities in India, except of course Allahabad, as long as I was there. Now I have retired for so many times and they must have changed, I don't know. Human Materialism by Paul J. Magnarella. About that also I have written here. Incidentally, Paul Magnarella happens to be my friend and one of the members of the editorial of my journal, Oriental Anthropologist, which I publish. He also happens to be one of the members of the editorial board. Latest theory is the human materialism. It is, materialist theory of culture I have discussed in my book. The first historical materialism, Karl Marx. Then comes dialectical materialism by Marx and Engels. Then comes cultural materialism by Marvin Harris. And he was a student of Marvin Harris in University of Florida. And now he has 93, he produced 93. So postmodernism will continue because despite all these controversies, but then anthropology again, it should be treated. All these things were just because of bringing objectivity in the study. Cultural relativism, Frank Boas, as early as in 1890s, talked about cultural relativism. Why? Because being more objective. Malinowski later talked about empathizing with the people just to be more objective, you know. Later, emic and ethic studies, this also you must have heard, Kenneth Pike from linguistics, then Claude Lévi-Strauss and all. So this is just, trying to bring more objectivity. These things have been there, and still anthropology should do as far as possible objectivity, but must not claim to be absolute objective their study. You said about Buddha, shall I? Or?
Divert हो जाएगा discussion.
No.
Anthropology of Buddha,
सर की बुक तो बहुत सारी हैं.
नहीं, अभी तो बुद्धा पर मैंने किताब लिखी नहीं है, लेकिन हाँ लिखूंगा. आर्टिकल लिखा है, साउथ अफ्रीका में छपी है.
Sir, I have a question regarding Andamanis. In yesterday class, sir, he taught us the population of Andamanis about 3 centuries ago, 300. Now 28, and now sir say that कि आप 63 population को बता रहे हैं. So, sir, ये inbreeding is harmful or not harmful? What is your perspective?
मैं बता देता हूँ. देखिए, रैडक्लिफ ब्राउन की किताब को पढ़ें आप. जो फील्ड वर्क रैडक्लिफ ब्राउन ने अंडमान में किया था 1906 से 1908, रैडक्लिफ ब्राउन ने किया था. कैसे किया था शायद हम बाद में बताएं. उस समय उन्होंने जो दिया है वो करीब 600 अंडमानीज का पॉपुलेशन कहा है. अब किताब में पढ़ लीजिए, डेटा दिया है, लेकिन वो भी सही डेटा नहीं था. वो कोई भी आदमी अंडमान जाएगा, वहाँ की बातों को पढ़ेगा, समझेगा तो बता देगा. क्यों? उस समय तक कुछ अंडमानीज हॉस्टाइल थे. वो तो साउथ अंडमान में पोर्ट ब्लेयर के इर्द गिर्द रहने वाले अंडमानियों को अंडमानी होम बनाया गया. और रॉस आइलैंड एक है, एकदम सामने में जाएंगे आप कभी भी अंडमान तो रॉस आइलैंड जरूर देखिएगा. वहाँ पर अंडमानीज होम बनाया गया. वहीं चीफ कमिश्नर हुआ करता था, उसकी ऑफिस थी, और उसके बरंडा में बैठ करके रैडक्लिफ ब्राउन उन्हीं लोगों से इंफॉर्मेशन पूरा लेते थे. हाँ, तो उस समय डिफिकल्ट था अंदर जाना, हॉस्टाइल. 1974 में जब मैं गया तो मैं जारवा को स्टडी करना चाहता था. किताब में लिखा है, इसी में विद्यार्थी जी के साथ में गया था 1974, 71 में पहले, 70 में गया था पहले, नहीं 71 में गया था पहले. तो यू कुड सी ए जारवा वंस इन योर लाइफ टाइम, आइदर यू किल देम और दे विल किल यू. यस, दिस वाज द प्रोवर्ब इन पोर्ट ब्लेयर. आप किसी कॉमन से हमने जब एंथ्रोपोलॉजिकल सर्वे ऑफ इंडिया के लोगों से कहा, कलकत्ते में भी और पोर्ट ब्लेयर में भी, कि would it be possible to study the Jarwa? Like you want to commit suicide or you want to die? Because they will, either you kill them or they will kill you. तो वो सिचुएशन आज भी सेंटिनरीज के साथ में है, हम सब जानते हैं. अंडमानी सबसे पहले डोसाइल हुए बाय द ब्रिटिशर्स, और उनको सिविलाइज करने के लिए अंडमानीज होम खोला रॉस आइलैंड में, एंड दैट बिकेम द कॉज ऑफ देयर डिक्लाइन. जो सबसे अधिक संख्या में थे वो ग्रेट अंडमान, मिडिल अंडमान, लिटिल अंडमान, 3 बड़े बड़े हैं ना, ग्रेट अंडमान, नॉर्थ अंडमान, मिडिल अंडमान एंड साउथ अंडमान. तो इसमें पूरे फैले हुए थे, हजारों की संख्या में थे, इसमें कोई शक नहीं. अंडमानीज, जारवास कन्फाइंड थे मिडिल अंडमान.
म्यूट करो यार, यादव जी म्यूट करो सबको. चलिए सर.
स्लिप कर गया माइंड से. और ओंगेज तो लिटिल अंडमान सबसे नीचे है, वहाँ अलग रहते थे. नॉर्थ सेंटिनली अंडमान, जो मेन अंडमान नॉर्थ मिडिल और में 2 थे, जारवास और अंडमानीज. जो अंडमानी सबसे अधिक संख्या में थे. तो अंडमानीज बिकेम एक्सटिंक्ट रादर. मैं इसी किताब में भी खोल के दिखा दूंगा। 1974 के फरवरी या मार्च में कदमतला जेटी में उस समय 19 अंडमानी केवल बचे हुए थे, ओनली 19। अभी उनकी संख्या 54, 53 कुछ हो गई है, दिखाया जाता है। कोई भी अंडमानीज का प्योर जेनेटिक है ही नहीं, क्योंकि वो 19 जो थे तो एक फैमिली के थे, आपस में शादी भी नहीं वो कर सकते थे। अभी जो अंडमानीज हैं वो प्राइमरली नहीं, दी ओनली, या तो बंगाली सेटलर्स या रांची लेबरर्स। रांची लेबरर्स कहलाते हैं जो मजदूर आदिवासी वहाँ के, तो रांची लेबर कहलाते हैं, क्योंकि उनको रिक्रूटमेंट रांची से होता था, तो रांची लेबर कहलाते हैं। उनके ही बच्चे हैं। इस मोबाइल में अभी भी हमारे पास फोटो है, जो लास्ट में अंडमान गया हूँ कॉन्फ्रेंस में, तो एक अंडमानीज बॉय और अंडमानीज गर्ल भाई बहन है, दोनों का। आप देख लीजिए उनको फोटो, वो जो जारवा और सेंटिनलीज वो लोग का जो फोटो है उससे कितना ज़्यादा भिन्न है। तो जेनेटिकली अब वो रह ही नहीं गया है अंडमानीज। इट इज़ ए मोंग्रल वैरायटी, इट इज़ ए मोंग्रल वैरायटी, मिक्स्ड वैरायटी है। और उसमें अंडमानीज फादर या मदर जो भी आप कहें, और फिर बंगाली सेटलर्स पूरे नॉर्थ, मिडिल एंड साउथ में बसा दिए गए हैं, जो ईस्ट पाकिस्तान से आए थे उनको, तो उन लोग के बच्चे हैं। लेकिन फिर भी इनको स्ट्रेट आइलैंड, एक अलग आइलैंड है जो कि 4 पॉइंट कितना स्क्वायर किलोमीटर का है, और उसमें इनको रखा गया है और पढ़ भी गए हैं। अब तो एक लड़का तो ITI कुछ कहलाता है, IIT नहीं, ITI में वहाँ पॉलिटेक्निक का कुछ ट्रेनिंग भी ले रहा था। अभी लेटेस्ट की बात मैं बता रहा हूँ। तो उनके डिक्लाइन का पॉपुलेशन के कारण मेन तो मैं कहूँगा ब्रिटिश शासक थे, जो अंडमानीज होम उन्होंने बनाया और उसको किसके देख रेख में छोड़ दिया। डिसेंडेंट्स ऑफ द कॉन्विक्ट्स, जो काला पानी की सजा पाते थे, तो उनमें जिसका थोड़ा बिहेवियर ठीक हो गया तो उसको फ्री रखते थे, नहीं तो सेलुलर जेल में रखते थे। अब उन लोगों ने अंडमानीज मेन एंड वुमेन को सेक्सुअली इतना अब्यूज किया कि रेडक्लिफ ब्राउन की किताब में आप पढ़ लीजिएगा कि मैक्सिमम वेनेरियल डिजीजेस से सफ़र कर रहे हैं। और रेडक्लिफ ब्राउन 1922 में किताब छापा है और कहता है इन द नेक्स्ट 50 ईयर्स इट इज़ होप्ड कि द ट्राइब वुड गेट एक्सटिंक्ट। 1922 में वो छापा है, मैं 1974 में मिला फर्स्ट अंडमानी से। फर्स्ट का पूरे ग्रुप ही थे, 19 लोगों के थे। तो कितना साल, 50 साल के बाद 19 बचे हुए थे। 22 और 74 को आप जोड़ लीजिए, वही आसपास होगा। लेकिन भगवान की कृपा से, चाहे वो प्योर रेशियल ये तो अपना खो दिया है, अब तो कोई प्योर जेनेटिकली अंडमानीज है नहीं। जो नेग्रीटो कहलाते थे ये लोग, नेग्रीटो, नॉट निग्रो बट नेग्रीटो, शॉर्ट स्टेचर एज कंपेयर टू द निग्रोज ऑफ व्हाट यू कॉल अफ्रीका। तो इसका कारण वो है उनके पॉपुलेशन डिक्लाइन का। जारवाज के बारे में लिखा भी है कि अभी तक वो जब तक होस्टाइल रहे तब तक वो सरवाइव किए। अब वो डोसाइल हो गया, कब तक करेंगे सरवाइव, क्वेश्चन मार्क। सेंटिनलीज अभी होस्टाइल हैं, वो जैसे हैं वैसे रहेंगे। साउथ अंडमान, सॉरी लिटिल अंडमान में ओंगे, वो जब मैं गया था तब 96 थे, अभी देख लीजिए तो अगर मिल जाएगा 100 से ऊपर तो नहीं गए होंगे। उनकी पॉपुलेशन स्टैग्नेंट है टोटल, लेकिन अभी तक उनकी रेशियल आइडेंटिटी मेंटेन्ड है। ड्यूगोंग क्रीक एक जगह है लिटिल अंडमान में, वहाँ उनको रखा गया है। और लेकिन वहाँ भी बंगाली सेटलर्स भी बसा दिए गए हैं, निकोबारीज को भी उठाकर वहाँ ला दिए गए हैं। तो हंटिंग गैदरिंग कुछ नहीं करते हैं, वो तो डोल पर डिपेंडेंट करते हैं कि सरकारी यानी एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन का शिप आएगा, आपको राशन देगा, कपड़े देगा, सब कुछ देगा। तो अभी बस केवल वो कलेक्शन ऑफ हनी करते हैं। हंटिंग गैदरिंग के लिए का स्कोप ही नहीं है उनको उतना वहाँ, क्योंकि उनके पास तो अपना पुराना स्पीयर है। और इधर जितने निकोबारी सेटलर्स हैं और जो बंगाली सेटलर्स हैं, ये एयर गन और क्या क्या रखते हैं, तो उनके एरिया में जाकर पोचिंग कर जाते हैं। तो दिस इज़ द सिचुएशन, बुरी हालत है अंडमान की।
डन।
यस
एंथ्रोपोलॉजिस्ट का आज की तारीख में रोल क्या है पब्लिक पॉलिसी फॉर्मुलेशन में?
क्या चीज का?
एंथ्रोपोलॉजिस्ट का रोल टुडे इन पब्लिक पॉलिसी फॉर्मुलेशन?
देखिए, एंथ्रोपोलॉजी का बहुत बड़ा रोल है, बहुत बड़ा रोल है
सर पब्लिक पॉलिसी?
हाँ हाँ, पब्लिक पॉलिसी में भाई एंथ्रोपोलॉजी स्टडीज ऑल एस्पेक्ट्स ऑफ मैन ऑफ ऑल टाइम एंड स्पेस। और जो बेसिक कैरेक्टरिस्टिक में आप फिर जाइए, होलिस्टिक, यू आर सपोज टू बी दैट फ्यूचर एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर, तो आप ही को पॉलिसी बनाना होगा, आप ही लोगों को करना पड़ता है, ऐसे ही लोग करते हैं भाई, और वो इम्प्लीमेंट भी उन्हीं को करना है। ओके, तो आप पॉलिसी एंथ्रोपोलॉजी, ये इकोनॉमिक्स तो बस एक एस्पेक्ट इकोनॉमी देखेंगे, और साइकोलॉजिस्ट ये जो भी है सब एक देखेंगे। आपको तो हर चीज को देखना है, और एंथ्रोपोलॉजी छोड़ के दूसरे का बढ़िया पॉलिसी तो हो ही नहीं सकता है, लेकिन करें तब तो। मैं तो कहता हूं कि डूइंग ए जॉब इन एंथ्रोपोलॉजी इज वन थिंग एंड डूइंग एंथ्रोपोलॉजी इज डिफरेंट। लोग केवल जॉब करते हैं, नौकरी करते हैं, ब्रेड बटर उससे अर्न कर रहे हैं, बड़े बड़े नाम हैं, एंथ्रोपोलॉजी कर रहे हैं। एंथ्रोपोलॉजी करने वाले कितने हैं? प्रोफेसर विद्यार्थी देखते हैं, आप ट्राइबल सब प्लान आप पढ़ते हैं तो सबके फॉर्मुलेशन में विद्यार्थी हुए, पीके भौमिक हुए, राय बर्मन हुए, इन लोगों के बहुत बड़े रोल थे उस समय। लेकिन आज के डेट पे मैं तो कह चुका हूँ कि मुझे तो निराशाजनक महसूस होता है इंडियन एंथ्रोपोलॉजी का प्रेजेंट कंडीशन, क्योंकि
इंस्टीट्यूट्स तो हैं, एंथ्रोपोलॉजिकल सर्वे ऑफ इंडिया, मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ ट्राइबल अफेयर्स,
हाँ,
ट्राइबल रिसर्च इंस्टीट्यूट।
ये तो मैंने पहले ही कहा, इतना के बाद भी इंडियन एंथ्रोपोलॉजी वर्ल्ड एंथ्रोपोलॉजी में अपना प्लेस कहाँ बना पा रहा है? अगर करें पॉजिटिवली तब तो। अभी तो मैं डॉक्टर साहब से बात कर रहा था कि मैं देख रहा हूँ SCSR में कितने पैसे खर्च होते हैं, क्या एंथ्रोपोलॉजिस्ट लोग कर रहे हैं। प्रोजेक्ट भी लोग लेते हैं सिर्फ खाली बस पैसे बनाने के लिए, क्या उसका आउटपुट है? कितना तो हमको रिव्यू भेजा है, मैं रिव्यू करता हूँ, क्या उसका आउटपुट आ रहा है? कुछ नहीं आ रहा है। तो देखिए, एंथ्रोपोलॉजी करना एक बात होती है और एंथ्रोपोलॉजी में नौकरी करना दूसरी बात है। तो अनफॉर्चुनेटली ये स्थिति है इंडिया की। नहीं तो यही कारण है कि जितने भी आते हैं सब तो आता है कि नहीं, डिजायर्ड रिजल्ट हमको नहीं अचीव हुआ। आप केवल सजेशन दे सकते हैं। अभी डॉक्टर साहब होने जा रहा है पुरुलिया में कॉन्फ्रेंस, अब मैंने आपको बताया कि मुझे SC रॉय मेमोरियल लेक्चर के लिए बुलाया गया है, उसमें नेशन बिल्डिंग एंड रोल ऑफ एंथ्रोपोलॉजी। अभी मैं कंप्लीट नहीं किया हूँ पेपर लिख करके, केवल एब्स्ट्रैक्ट मैंने लिखी है। लेकिन क्या एंथ्रोपोलॉजिस्ट कर सकता है भाई, अदर देन गिविंग सजेशंस? उसको इंप्लीमेंट करने वाले तो एंथ्रोपोलॉजिस्ट नहीं है, उसको इंप्लीमेंट करने वाले तो नहीं है। और एक्शन एंथ्रोपोलॉजी के नाम पर सोल टैक्स को प्रोफेसर विद्यार्थी को, प्रोफेसर भौमिक को मिला छोटे मोटे काम करने को। विद्यार्थी जी को मिला था बिरहोर के बीच में, PK भौमिक को लोधा के बीच में मिला था। इन लोगों ने अपने अपने तरीके से काम किया कि ठीक है भाई, आप ही को फंड देते हैं, आप ही इसको काम कीजिए। लेकिन अल्टीमेटली तो इट डिपेंड्स अपॉन द गवर्नमेंट एंड इट डिपेंड्स अपॉन द एग्जीक्यूटिव, जो जिसको एग्जीक्यूट करते हैं गवर्नमेंट के प्लान्स को। तो एंथ्रोपोलॉजिस्ट कैन ओनली सजेस्ट द गवर्नमेंट। एंथ्रोपोलॉजी क्या करेगा, उसके पास क्या है?
ये लोग करेंगे ना।
हाँ, आप लोग कर सकते हो, क्योंकि इम्प्लीमेंट तो आप लोगों को करना है। एंथ्रोपोलॉजिस्ट एज सच, एज एन एकेडमिशियन, वो केवल सजेशन कर सकता है, द बेस्ट वे बता सकता है। बट दैट आप उसको अथॉरिटी तो नहीं ना देगी किसी हालत में कि नहीं ठीक है, आपको हम पूरा चार्ज दिए कि आप इसको ऐसे कीजिए। ऐसा तो होगा नहीं, प्रैक्टिकली संभव नहीं है। दिस हैज टू बी एग्जीक्यूटेड बाय यू पीपल इन फ्यूचर। तो ये आप लोग पर डिपेंड करता है। इसीलिए मैं कह रहा हूँ कि मैं तो बहुत पहले से कहता रहा हूँ, विद्यार्थी जी के समय में ये होता था। यस, भूपिंदर सिंह, यू रिमेम्बर सरदार जी इन द होम मिनिस्ट्री, एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव।
भूपिंदर सिंह याद है?
यस सर।
कहाँ पढ़ा? केस शेड्यूल।
हाँ, तो उस समय विद्यार्थी जी ने कितने बार ये चीज रन किए कि एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर्स के ग्रुप को भेजा जाता था जो ट्राइबल एंड रूरल एरिया में खास तौर से हैं, 1.5 से 2 महीने तक के लिए कि आप जाकर के एंथ्रोपोलॉजी का ट्रेनिंग लीजिए। वहाँ विद्यार्थी जी फील्ड वर्क करवाते थे, बिकॉज विदाउट फील्ड वर्क एंथ्रोपोलॉजी इज बिग जीरो। फील्ड वर्क करवाते थे, उनको रिपोर्ट लिखना पड़ता था, ओरिएंटेशन होता था, क्लासेस होते थे, इसलिए कि दीज आर द एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर्स हु आर वर्किंग देयर, इफ दे अंडरस्टैंड द वेरी क्रैक्स, वेरी एसेंस ऑफ एंथ्रोपोलॉजी, प्रॉब्ली दे वुड बी डूइंग बेटर। तो दीज थिंग्स आर नीडेड। किसी भी एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन को वो ट्राइबल में है कि रूरल में पोस्टेड, इसका मतलब नहीं है, क्योंकि एंथ्रोपोलॉजी स्टडीज ऑल एस्पेक्ट्स ऑफ मैन ऑफ ऑल टाइम एंड स्पेस। इसको बेवकूफ़ी में लोग ये समझते हैं कि एंथ्रोपोलॉजी इज द स्टडी ऑफ ट्राइब्समैन, एज इफ ट्राइबोलॉजी हो या एंथ्रोपोलॉजी ना। इससे ज़्यादा मिसनोमर तो कुछ दूसरा हो ही नहीं सकता है।